Arjuna said, O Hrishikesh, Krishna, rightly does the world rejoice and delight in glorifying you. The Rakshasas are fleeing in terror in all directions, and all the hosts of perfected ones are bowing before you in adoration. This verse is Guruji's and my eternal prayer, and one of the verses we chant every day. I'll give you a little pre-introduction. Those who listen to Guruji's discourses regularly will know about this. Guruji remembers his grandmother in each and every discourse. He always says that in each and every house there should be a grandmother. A grandmother is a moving university. Nobody can ingrain morals and culture into a child as effectively and efficiently as a grandmother. Whatever Guruji is today is because of his grandmother's blessings. Whatever I am today is because of my grandmother's blessings. Our grandmothers have given us so many things. This is one of the things that Guruji's grandmother has given him. He always says that during his discourses that his grandmother would tell him 2 stories every night from the Srimad Bhagavat, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, the Shiv Purana, the Devi Purana, and many other scriptures. The stories he listened to while sitting in his grandmother's lap during childhood, he is saying these stories to us now while sitting in the Vyaspeeth, a place where the holy speakers sit to give their discourses. Guruji was around 4 or 5 years of age at that time. His grandmother taught him this verse. Perhaps the first verse of the Gita that was introduced to Guruji was this verse. He did learn the verse Aham Vaishva Naro Bhutva before, but when he was learning it, then he did not know that this verse was in the Gita. He would say it every day while eating, and then when Guruji learnt the 15th chapter, then he realized that the verse Aham Vaishva Naro Bhutva is in the 15th chapter of the Gita. But knowing that he was learning a verse from the Gita, the first verse that he learned from his grandmother was this verse. He was living in the village for 2 years, and he went there on every vacation. There was no light in the village at that time, and there was complete darkness. Because he was a child, it was natural that he would be afraid of the dark. He was scared. There are 2 things in his life that have scared away fear. The first is the Gayatri mantra that he was given when he had the janoi, the sacred thread, tied around him. When he was given this, he was told that, son, you have been given the janoi sacred thread, and when you perform jap of the Gayatri mantra, then nothing will ever happen to you. With his faith, he's never seen anything called fear in life since then. He's gone through many adverse circumstances, he's passed through many times of struggle, and everything has happened, but because of God's grace, he has never known what fear is at any time since then. But he did have fear in his childhood. At that time, this verse helped him. When Guruji read Gandhiji's autobiography, then he understands that Gandhiji himself used to be scared of the dark, or when he had to go to a dark room. At that time, there was a maidservant by the name of Rambani who gave these words to Mohandas that, son, if you get scared of the dark, then you should perform chanting of Ram Ram. Gandhiji writes this thing in his autobiography, and since then he had so much faith in the Ram Nam, the name of Ram. His grandmother gave him this initiation, and Guruji's grandmother taught him this verse. She told me that, son, whenever you're scared, then chant this verse. Stane Hrisikesha Tava Prakritarya Jagat Prahasta Anurajatya Cha Rakshasmi Vitami Disho Dravanti Sarve Namasyanti Cha Sita Sangha. O Hrisikesha, Shri Krishna, rightly does the world rejoice and delight in glorifying you. The Rakshasas are fleeing in terror in all the directions, and all the hosts of perfected ones are bowing before you in adoration. From there onwards, through regular prayers every day in the morning, lunchtime, and evening, Guruji has been saying this verse. And to all those people who know Guruji closely, many times he has given them this verse. In particular, if they are in some problem or difficulty, then these people have performed jap, the name chanting of this mantra, and they get the result. If there is any type of fear, difficult circumstances arise at any time, it feels as if the circumstances are against us. We feel alone, that the whole world is on one side, and I alone am on the other side, and our courage is breaking, then if you have faith in Shri Krishna's words, then perform jap, 108 prayer beads while chanting this mantra. You will not be alone. The Supreme Soul's blessings will be with you. At that time you get the strength. Guruji has experienced this in his life. Stane Hrishikesha tava prikrita jagat prahasyati anurajati cha rahasmi bitani disho dravanti save namasyanti cha sita samga. O Hrishikesha Shri Krishna, rightly does the world rejoice and delight in glorifying you. The Rakshasas are fleering in terror in all directions, and all the hosts of perfected ones are bowing before you in adoration. Let us understand the meaning, and then we will look at the next few verses. Many times I feel that this verse is not worth speaking about. Can one speak about this? This verse that you have been perpetually living on, the verses whose consequences you can see with each and every step of your life, and not only in your own lives, but in the lives of many different people. How can you sit down to analyze this verse? Can you sit down to analyze this verse? No. Arjuna tells the Lord that rightly does the world rejoice and delight in glorifying the Lord. Both Shankaracharya and Ramanujacharya, and also the majority of the commentators of the Gita, define the word stane as yuktam, rightly. Arjuna is saying that it is proper, Lord. Arjuna addresses Shri Krishna as Hrisikesha. The name Hrisikesha can have two different meanings. It depends on how we split the word. One way of splitting it can be Hrishik, meaning the senses, and Isha, Lord. Therefore, Hrishikesh can mean Lord of the senses or the boss of the senses. The second meaning can be found by splitting Hrishikesha into Rishi, meaning that which gives delight, and Kesha, meaning hair. Therefore, Hrishikesh can also mean one whose hair gives delight. If you look at the form of Shri Krishna, then no matter if it's the child form, the form playing Ras, the divine Leela, Gopal Krishna, the cowherd form, Yogeshwar Krishna, the form as the Lord of the Yogis, or Radha Krishna, no matter what form it is, the hairs of the Supreme Soul are very beautiful. Even when he has worn a crown, the hairs that come out near the ears and are flying at the back, these are Kesha, the hair. When you are performing meditation in the morning, then sometimes you just meditate on the Kesha, the hair of the Supreme Soul. No matter if you are sad or your mood has become off, if you meditate upon the hair of the Supreme Soul, then think about how much the Lord's hair must fly in the wind. If you meditate on this, then you get delight from this yourself, and you will experience bliss. This is Hrishikesha, one whose hair gives delight. A tremor has come to Arjuna, and he is trembling, as Samjaya said earlier. And this trembling is such a state that the person is not trembling on purpose. This trembling happens when one's senses are not under one's control. In spite of the person, it is against the person's control. That is when trembling happens. This means that now I am not under my control. That is why Arjuna addressed Shri Krishna as Hrishikesha. Arjuna is saying that, Lord, you are the boss of the senses. Look after my senses, Lord, and you make this trembling go away. And secondly, Arjuna has fear. Arjuna is faltering, and that is why happiness is necessary, and therefore Arjuna addresses Shri Krishna as Hrishikesha. Arjuna uses the word stane, rightly, to say that rightly does the world rejoice and delight in glorifying the Supreme Soul. The word kirtan in prakirtya is used, and this does not mean only banging drums and playing instruments. It is prakirta, and this means such people who chant the Lord's name, meditate on the effectiveness of the Lord's characteristics, and have experienced the beautiful qualities of the Lord, and those who keep glorifying those experiences over and over again in their lives. Prakushtena kirtanam prakirtanam. The world rejoices in doing this and gets delight from it. Then Arjuna uses the word prayushyanti, which means becoming endlessly delighted when one remembers the Lord's powers, qualities, and characteristics, that they just keep thinking about them and keep glorifying them, which leads to this wild rejoicing. Prakushtena rashyati. Arjuna says that it is right and proper that this happens. In this verse, the word stane, rightly, can be is used three times, and we can place it in three different places. Firstly, we have to place it over there that, Lord, on remembering your name, the bliss that the world is experiencing is right. Tava prakriyatan mahatma kirtana shutena hi Hrishikesha yat jagat prarushati parshanam upayati tat stane yuktam iti artaha. Secondly, it is right that the demons in terror flee in all directions and become dissolved and destroyed and become invisible when people remember the name of the Lord, glorification of the Lord, and the divine experiences of the Lord. Bhitani rakshami tishyata dravanti stane rakshasmi bhitani bhaya vishanti dishaha dravanti gachati tasyat stane. The demons go so far away that nobody even knows where they've gone. Why does this happen? When they hear the name of the Lord, when you remember the name of the Lord, and it is the name of Hari, Shri Krishna, then can a demon stand there? No, it's not possible. And a demon does not mean just a person with teeth, horns, dark skin and red eyes. Do not consider a demon to be this. All people who give turbulence to us are all demons. Those who take our peace and those who snatch our peace are demons. They cannot stand there. Doubts and fears are all demons. If you remember, think about and contemplate about the material world, then you will get attraction, repulsion, worry and things like this. But if you begin to remember, think about and contemplate about the Supreme Soul, then you get delight and bliss. Not only that, but you rejoice from doing it. When one remembers the name of the Lord, then demons, doubts and fears go away. I've experienced the spiritual meaning of this. I said this from the beginning, and now I'll give a fresh example. There are some things that we cannot believe, but I've heard this, and that's why I'm saying, not that I agree to it 100%, but I've heard it, and I've heard it from Guruji, who heard it 10 to 12 years ago. Guruji went to Vrindavan. They were going there to worship Bihariji, Shri Krishna in Vrindavan, and he had heard a lot that Swami Ramsukdas was arriving there. Guruji has a lot of feelings and a lot of adoration towards Swami Ramsukdas. Of course in India, but perhaps even in the whole world, if someone could be regarded as having authority on the Gita, and if you wanted to make a list of the top 10 people who know about the Gita, then the number one person will be Swami Ramsukdas. He was about 50 years of age, and he had a very small loincloth around him. He was a person at the level of Rishi. Guruji had a wish to meet him for a long time. He had read his books, but he had a wish to meet him. One or two times, a program was made with a person called Haribai in Mumbai, and Guruji wanted to meet him. He had a rule that you can only meet him at 5 a.m. in the morning. He would give his discourses from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning, and then you would not be able to meet him for the rest of the day. A few years before Guruji met him in Vrindavan, he had to come to Andheri in Mumbai, and he was giving a discourse in Andheri. But somehow or the other, it could not be fixed, and suddenly Guruji had the chance to go to Vrindavan on the day of Ekadasi. On the day of Ekadasi, Guruji found out that where he was there and decided that he would go and meet him the next morning. The person who was with Guruji knew him very well and said that we will certainly go and meet him. They reached there early in the morning, and Swamiji was bathing somewhere. Guruji was speaking to a very close disciple of his, and his disciple told Guruji about this event. We may live in the cities and are students of science, and therefore I'll repeat again that both Guruji and I cannot believe this example that we're about to give you, but I'm telling you that the person from whom Guruji has heard it from, and now I'm telling you the example that Guruji heard. Guruji was having a conversation with them that the Gita press Gorakhpur prints of the book of the Gita, which are the size of a matchbox. Guruji wanted this for a very long time, and you cannot find it in quantities. Therefore, while Swamiji was getting ready, Guruji was listening to his pupils who get looked after very well by Swamiji. Guruji told his pupils that he wants this book of the Gita very much, and he wanted 100, 200, 500 copies at one time so he could give it to people as a present. When Guruji goes to people's houses, then he likes to give them this book as a present, and therefore he asked them that he wanted these books. They told him that there is a lot of demand for these books. They said that you can get even smaller sized books than those. Guruji told them that he does not want books of a smaller size than them because he will not be able to read them, and what can he do with them? Guruji said as a joke that maybe people could wear them as a pendant with their necklaces, and they replied that it is exactly the size of a pendant. Guruji joked that, I believe that people should read the Gita and only then will it have an effect, but if you wear it as a pendant and a piece of jewelry and worship it with rice and red turmeric powder, then what effect will it have? Then it becomes meaningless. They told him, brother, do not talk like this. They told Guruji about the event. This event took place in the state of Uttar Pradesh in India. They told him the name of the village where it took place, but he's forgotten the name. It often happens in the villages that people get possessed by ghosts. You will never hear such an example at either Guruji's or my discourses, but Guruji has heard about this, and therefore I'm telling you this. In this particular village, a witch had possessed someone. I'll say it in very simple language. She had possessed a man. The person would look very handsome and good, but this witch got a physical attraction towards him, and every day when a certain time came in the evening or at night time, then she would come and possess him. Then day by day, this person's body would shrink and he felt very weak. The witch was attracted to him as a material enjoyment and sucked everything out of him. The person tried very hard to get rid of it, but she would not go away. A lot of different efforts were made, but nothing happened. One day it so happened that the person had an addiction to tobacco, and then when he would go to chew tobacco, then some of his tobacco was lying there. When the time of the night came, then the witch came. Explain to me what the witch looked like. At the beginning, when the witch came, then the person found it good, but one day what happened was that he had to turn the light off, and they were sitting on his bed. He said that he would switch off the light, and she told him not to worry. She was sitting on the bed and automatically switched off the light. And when her arm got longer, then he became so scared because at that moment he realized that she is something different from what she says she is. He became scared, but he could not do anything because now he could not say anything. First of all, he had the guilt that he had done something wrong, and now on top of that, there was this. She told him that if he were to tell anyone, then she would kill him. She told him that he would have to do what she said. After this, when she came, then she would not come inside the room. The person asked why she would not come. She said that it was because there was a tobacco in her pocket, and she asked him to throw it away, only then would she come. He asked her what it was, because the person didn't know what it was. When he took out his tobacco, then he saw that there was a page from the Gita. The witch told him to put it away, and only then will she come to him. The person wanted the witch to go away, and therefore he said that he would not put it away, because he had one page, and she was staying away, so he brought the entire Gita there. Now, he always keeps it with him as a pendant, and became free from the venom or blind faith, whatever you call it. I still have not understood how much truth there is in the story, but I'm telling you what I've heard. But the effectiveness is certainly there. I can at least say that this removes a person's fear and terror. Whatever demon or wrong thing there is, then when the person begins to perform penances of the Gita, keeps faith in the words of the Supreme Soul, and keeps trust in the words of the Supreme Soul, and the person is living his life according to this, I'll say what I have to say, that if someone performs worship of the Gita with rice and turmeric powder, then it's very good. But the person should put the words of the Gita into practice in his life. Then no type of fear remains in his life. Arjuna says that, Lord, that these are demons, worries and fears are going far away, and it is right that they should do so. Thirdly, Arjuna is saying that it is right that even all the hosts of perfected ones who have reached such state after performing penances for birth after birth are bowing before the Supreme Soul in adoration. Sarve namasyanti namaskaran kurvanti cha siddhasanga tachastane. Arjuna says to the Lord that even this is right. Therefore, the meaning of this verse is that, O Hrisikesha Krishna, rightly does the world rejoice in delight in glorifying you, rightly do the Rakshas flee in terror in all directions, and rightly do all the hosts of perfected ones bow before you in adoration. Arjuna did this stuti, prayer and praise of the Supreme Soul with this mantra. After learning this meaning of this verse, we should chant this verse again with a lot of feelings inside us. Together. Stane Hrisikesha tava prakritarya jagat prasatti anurujjata rakshami pitami dishotravanti sarve namasyanti cha siddha samga. O Hrisikesha, Shri Krishna, rightly does the world rejoice and delight in glorifying you. The Rakshasas, the demons, are fleeing in terror in all directions, and all the hosts of perfected ones are bowing before you in adoration. The last three verses can be counted as amongst the most important verses, not only in the 11th chapter, but also in the whole of the Gita. Arjuna tells Shri Krishna that the hosts of perfected ones are bowing before him, and then in the next verse, Arjuna says that how can these people do anything else other than bow down to the Lord? Arjuna describes why these people are bowing down to the Lord in the 37th and the 38th verses.